#1 highest rated movie on Letterboxd. This is Masaki Kobayashi's 1962 movie, Harakiri. Now, my first introduction to this movie would be looking through the highest rated movies on Letterboxd, and the #1, the movie that was all the way at the top, would be Harakiri. I was naturally curious actually to go watch this movie, see why it's so highly rated. So what did I do? I went straight to Amazon, ordered myself the Blu-ray version of this movie, and sat down and watched it. And my god, what an experience it was watching this movie. This is a timeless masterpiece. I think a lot of the themes, ideas that Masaki Kobayashi and the writers were trying to tell with this movie in 1962 are quite relevant and resonant even till today. And even in the future, I think in certain ways it will be resonant to audiences. This is a masterpiece. This is what you call a timeless masterpiece. So let's talk about it. The first and foremost thing that I really loved about this movie is the themes, the layered themes it's trying to tell, and how everything has a purpose and everything is leading to this one central message. Yes, there's a lot to talk about here, but everything is just leading to that one central message that the director is trying to convey to the audience. Here's my warning now. Of course, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review. I'm going to be spoiling the hell out of this movie because this is more of an analysis video. I'm going to analyze certain themes, characters, and ideas that the writers and the directors are trying to propose here in this movie. So let's start. The movie starts with this empty samurai armor. And that was how the movie starts. We have no idea what's going on. And then next we see Hanshiro Tsugumo, the main protagonist, going to see this clan. And in this clan, he meets this counselor. Tsugumo is a very interesting character to me, but let's go from the beginning first. At this point, everything's mysterious. You saw this empty samurai armor, and now you're seeing this. You don't know what's the correlation going on here, and everything is just mysterious. And it grabs your attention that way. And Hanshiro Tsugumo goes to this counselor and tells him, I want to commit Harakiri. Harakiri is this Japanese ritual where they have to cut open their belly and kill themselves. And he says that, and the counselor asks him, you know this other person called Motome Chijiwa, because he came here some time ago in January the same year and asked for the same thing. But the only difference between him and Tsugumo is that he came here hoping for money, to get money from the clan. And Hanshiro is going there saying that he really wants to commit Harakiri, no other motives involved. So they bring him to his ground. And between these two people, there was this conversation, and they were talking about this character Motome, and Hanshiro says that I have no idea who this guy is. At least that's what he said then. And then the counselor goes on to tell stories of him when he first met him. So this is from the perspective of the counselor. This is from the perspective of these rich people living in their own rich palace. So he says that this man came to him and says that he wants to commit Harakiri. And at that point, this is how the situation was like. There were a lot of ronin going around. They were not very rich. They were living in poverty actually. They didn't have much resources to them. So what did they do? They go to these clans and their houses and ask for Harakiri. And by that, and the clans will see this and look at their own courage and honor, and then maybe even hire them or give them money and tell them to go away. And that's what the situation was like back then. So this character, Motome, goes to them and tells them, I want to commit Harakiri. And then they honor that, and then the counselor talks to these other samurais who are close to him, and he talks to them, and somebody suggests that maybe we should just give him money and tell him to go away. We don't want any of these things. And then another samurai comes up and says, we shouldn't be doing that. And his reason was that, look, we see this happening in other clans. First, only one ronin will go to them, telling them they want to commit Harakiri. They give him money and they tell him to go away. And then after that, just like small ants, a lot of other ronins will come to that same clan asking them for Harakiri. And in that way, the clans will lose their reputation because they have to give all these people money. So they lose their reputation that way. And that's not what the samurai code and honor was all about. So he says, we should really let him commit Harakiri. And then they did some further investigation on this guy, Motome. And they look at his sword, and then they say that, and they look at his sword and they think that, holy shit, his sword is a bamboo sword, not even a real sword. He's not really a worthy person. He's probably here for the money, mostly. So they go to him. First they tell him, you know what? We're going to give you money. At least that's what hinted at him. They gave him new clothes, and then they said he had an audience with an higher up, and he thought he was going to get money and get away from it. And then suddenly another samurai comes in and gives him a new set of clothes, and right away he knew he really has to commit harakiri. So then he says, please pardon me for like 1 or 2 days. And they think that this is not honorary, you're probably going to run away. That's what we think. Usually when people say that, they're probably going to run away. And then he says, no, that's not true, I'll really come back. But then it's like, they don't trust him at all. And they force him to commit harakiri with this bamboo sword. And that's hurtful. Like, that is very violent, very painful. I watched that scene and it was really hard watching. That's how painful and violent it was. So then now it is our main character, Hanshiro Tsugumo's turn to commit harakiri. As for his executioners, he asked for the same 3 samurais who were the main reason for Motoke's demise. And then when all 3 of them are unavailable because of illness, literally the same reason for all 3 of them, things get really suspicious. And then the council tells his subordinate, go find out what's going on. He says, you have no choice, alright? You have no choice. I'm going to choose for you the person in charge of your harakiri. And then he says, no, I want one of these 3 people. And then the council says, no, and they have this back and forth. And then we realize what's going on when our main character, Hanshiro, says that he knows Motome, he's affiliated with him. And then this becomes a huge shock. We knew something was going on, but we still don't know the full story. Everything seems shrouded in mystery still. Like, how exactly are you affiliated with him or related to him? And then we go back through a series of flashbacks where Hanshiro was actually the friend of Motome's father. And Motome's father killed himself so that Hanshiro didn't have to kill himself and left the responsibility of his own son to him. So now he has the responsibility of his son as well as his daughter, Hanshiro's own daughter, Miho. And that's when we realize, oh shit, things are about to go down. We know the direction this movie is going to go in. We somewhat know what's going to happen. So we know that this is where the tension begins in the story. And this was when a simple storyline about a man wanting to commit harakiri turned into a more complex storyline. This is when it first started, and as the film progresses, it gets more complex. We thought that he's here for revenge. At least that's what we think in the beginning. That's what the audience would think in the beginning. And then later, they show more flashbacks, they flesh out these characters. They show Hanshiro as a respectable person where he actually cares for the people around him. When this random guy comes to his house, tells her, you know what, maybe you should give me Miho, and then Hanshiro says, no. What you'll do is you sell her off as a concubine to a famous person and I'll get money, and I do not want to profit from my daughter's marriage or anything. I want her to be happy. So you know straight away that he's a more respectable person, he's an honorary person, he puts family first, he cares for the people around him. You know what kind of person he is. So he asked Motome to marry her. Now here's the thing, Motome is also not very well off. He's also living in poverty, just like Miho and Hanshiro. But he knows that Miho will be more happier with him because they're actually close together. They have been friends for a long time. And they were a family. And then they even had a son called Kingo. And Hanshiro really liked Kingo and took good care of him. And one day things went downhill. Now their living conditions are not very good. So what happens? The wife, Miho, gets some illness and the son, Kingo, is also having high fever. Now here's the thing, they can't even afford a doctor. That is how bad their poverty and their living condition is. And then Hanshiro one day tells him of this story, this was in another flashback, tells him that, look, I know this guy, and what he did was that he went to this clan and then he tells them he wants to commit harakiri. And because he said that, they looked at him and then they said, you know what, I like your valor, I like how much pride you have as a samurai, so I'm gonna hire you. And he also tells him of this other samurai where they gave him money and told him to go away, not to commit harakiri where they are in their clan grounds. So when all things go downhill and when they have no more choice, this gives Motome an idea. He lied to his father-in-law saying that, you know, maybe I know this guy and I could go work for him and get some money from him. And then the father says, go get that money, we need it. And then he goes, and what he really did was that go to that clan. All this time, the guys in the clan thought that he sold his real sword for a bamboo sword. He has no pride. When in reality, he actually sold it for his family. It's not because of pride, because He puts his family, the people he cares about, before pride and honor. And that is the main conflict of this story. Pride and honor, samurai code versus taking care of those you love, putting those you love in front, foremost in the store in your life. That is the main conflict of this story. These clan members, the counselor who forced him to do the harakiri, probably had no idea about the situation he was living in, about the poverty, about how much he needs that money. And when he asked to pardon for a day or two, they should have let him, because he's not in a very good condition. He's not living in a very good condition. His life went downhill. His wife's ill. His son's also ill, having high fever. Things are not going well. So Motoke is in a dilemma here, and he has to make decisions. If not, his wife's and child is gonna die. So he's pushed to the max. Therefore, he's forced to do things that he's not comfortable with or he knows that are wrong, like lying to the clan that he wants to commit harakiri. A man has to provide for his family, and there's this hierarchy thing going on as well, where there's the more rich and powerful people, and the more poor and downtrodden and people living in poverty. So there's another layer to this conflict. And when Hanshiro explained all this to the counselor, he was hoping for one thing only. Yes, I accept that Motoke made a mistake with the handling of this situation, but then again, he had no choice. He was driven to madness. He was at his max already. He was forced to do this. He had no other choice. And he was hoping that they would also accept that they also made a mistake, where they wrongly assumed and they took things too far. Maybe they would have a change of heart. And he was willing, and he was hoping that they would accept this, and maybe he would commit harakiri after that and bring this message to the afterlife, to Motoke, his daughter, as well as his grandson. But what happens is that the counselor is very adamant on this pride and honor and samurai code. And then he goes on to tell another part of the story, another thing in the story, and that is that he attacked those 3 samurais who brought Motoke's dead body to their house in the first place. Now, we knew that he probably had something to do with it. Maybe he caused their illness. That's what we thought. But what we didn't know is that it all ties in to pride, honor, and samurai code. He fought all 3 of them one by one. And before I continue about this samurai code and these themes, I want to talk about the action scenes. Each of the action scenes is just brilliantly directed and brilliantly well done. It's a 1v1 fight. It's a very realistic and down to earth fight, using real swords even, I heard. And this one battle scene where he fight this samurai, the way he used wind to his advantage, and I was like, wow, that is very tactical. That is very smart way of fighting. I loved that. I really love seeing a tactical way of actions, fightings and all that. I think it's a very smart kind of action scenes, and I really love those kind of things. And seeing this here, I was really blown away. And then he takes their hairband and then throws it in front, and he tells them the truth. They're actually not sick. They just don't want to show their face to you because they lost in a battle with me, and they're waiting to grow back that hair so that they can come back to you. And then he's posing the question to the counselor, and it'll make the audience as yourself think as well, is that really an honorary thing to do? Lying that you are sick. That is not a very honorary thing to do. That is not part of the samurai code. So it makes you think, these people who vouch, who keep preaching that samurai code is very important, we must follow it, are they really following the samurai code? It makes you think that question, and I thought that was really brilliant and awesome. It escalates into this big fight between Hanshiro versus all these other samurais. It's a 1v so many other people. Of course, he loses the fight, but before he goes down, he killed 4 people and severely injured 8 other people. And during these action scenes, we see that empty samurai armor once again, and we know that it symbolizes something, but we can't put our heads to it. At least I couldn't put my head to it. I couldn't figure out what it meant yet. So once he commits harakiri as well, they go to the counselor, tell him the news that this guy has died. And then the counselor asks, how many casualties were there? And these guys, his underlings, were shocked to hear that. And then they tell him 4 dead, 8 people injured, severely injured. And then he tells them, we are going to change the story. This is not what we are going to tell the public. We are going to tell the public Hanshiro Tsugumo committed harakiri. Those 4 people who died actually died by committing harakiri as well. And those 8 severely injured people, tend to them, make sure they're feeling well. And he tells the three of them, actually one of them already died in the battle with Hanshiro Tsugumo in a flashback, but the two other people who are still alive, to commit Harakiri so that they can save face, so that the clan can save face. And they would seem honorary, because the more honorary and prideful thing to do, the samurai code. And it makes you think once again, all those people who say that the samurai code is above all, you should put the samurai code above all, it's the most important thing. Are they really following the samurai code? Do they really follow it? Because in this scene, he clearly doesn't seem so. He's lying. And then the higher-ups who didn't know about this, the lord that didn't know about this because they lied to keep the reputation of the clan up, congratulated him about all this when they are in reality lying and not following the samurai code at all. And then they show us once again this empty samurai armor. And then I still couldn't wrap my head around it. I still had no idea what it meant. I'm so sorry. I'm pretty dumb, I know. And then after the movie ended, I had to go search them on the internet to figure out what it actually meant. Apparently, it meant the past glory of the clan, which is treated with respect, but now it's not so much because they're cowards and liars. That's what it's representing. So I thought that was really awesome. I wished I was smart enough to figure out what during the movie. I had to go search it up to figure out what it meant. But awesome movie. This movie is timeless with its themes. It is thematically well layered. It goes for it, you know. And a lot of big budget movies nowadays, blockbusters nowadays, don't go for that. I think this storyline or theme of the rich people up there not caring about the people all the way at the bottom has been used in stories, in movies a lot. I'm not denying that, but it's not very popular in blockbusters. The most recent blockbuster movie I can think of that went by this storyline would probably be Joker.
Laughing now. You can say that again, pal.
In 2019, but even then, in that movie, it differs in such ways such that by the end of the movie, Joker wins. The one at the bottom wins, whereas in this movie, it is less fortunate for the main character. It is still the people at the top of the hierarchy winning. Once again, it's a timeless masterpiece. I have nothing else to say except for great things about this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, I have no idea what you're doing watching this video because I just spoiled so many things about this movie. But then again, if you haven't, go watch it. That's all I have for this video. If you like this video, click the like button. If you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. If you want to tell me anything, let me know in the comments below. I'll gladly appreciate your comments. And see you guys next time. You guys are always the best.